Okay, we are starting our Montana column. And here is my son. He's going to tell you his strategy.
Okay. So basically, this time around, I have a lot more men to work with. Before, in the last scenario, it was more of a struggle, so I really had to stay together to try to survive because he's really good at maneuvering and flanking, but now I'm going to try to outmaneuver him and flank him. So I have this force very strong. Custer's got a lot with him. They're going to come along the south here. This force, they're going to come mostly north. Maybe have one leader come around the middle right here. And the scouts are going to come back around this side and threaten the ponies. So hopefully it's going to really split them up and weaken them. That's my plan.
I guess my village is not going to get alerted until the army's right up on them. So he's doing the right thing, sending his scouts out, and he's checking the ford areas to cross. And this one he was allowed to cross. This one said no. It cost him 3 to get over. And that, again, that follows history. That's what Custer's command was doing. He's trying to find a place to cross so they're not hung out to dry while they're crossing the river. But some of these I had to set up with a yes or a no, and then some I could, some of these I had to say yes on, and then others I didn't. So he's advanced, and it looks like he's trying to surround me this way. Now we are having one discrepancy of what the north and south edges are, because their compass says north's right there.
Yeah.
And south's this corner, and then east-west is like this. So we're just calling this the west, that's the east, that's the north, and that's the south. So I need to exit off this side of the board. That's the way we're calling it. All right.
So I was in a little dilemma because he has to escape off the board on this side, and I was able to bring in Brisbane and Terry. But the question is, over here it's very plain and there's not a lot of advantage I can use. But this is where he's trying to go. But over here, I have a lot more, right? I have the river, the woods, elevation. But he's not really going to be coming over this area as much. So it was hard to decide where I should put my men. So I put one on this side where he's trying to go and one in the better position.
And my son loved to use the woods and the creeks and the rivers to defend himself, because as the warriors, I was going at him to keep him away from my villages and my villagers. So I would go at him and he would defend himself in the woods. And then I decided I was going to stop doing that and stay away from him and just keep walking to the north side and force him to come out more in the open and fight me. We have just gone, 20 minutes forward, an hour. We're an hour, 20 minutes into the game.
I'm pretty much set up where I want to be, so now I'm just deciding where I'm going to start attacking and where I'm going to start positioning myself, because he's going to get alerted here. I'm pretty much as close as I can be, other than these two. I mean, I guess I could wait another turn, not do anything, and just move them closer. That might be an option. Get them in perfect position, and then at the turn where I wanted to get alerted, I just move in with everything. So I might do that.
He is trying to cut me off here, and right now, he stayed away. There's no alert. Only my scout did the U.S. forces. So now I got to get him to the camp. I mean, I got to still move there, because if he keeps delaying and waits for all his forces to get in position, that's just better for him. So I do have to continue moving this guy over there as fast as I can. Then he's forced to just attack. We'll see. And he did bring up a good idea, because if I keep running this way, which he has some two strong forces right here in the woods, and he has some strong ones here, but in this direction, it's not very strong. Now, I can't get off the board here. I'd have to turn up where the rest of the U.S. forces are coming in over there. If I try to run back this way off the board and just stay away from them, this direction, until the time runs out, but that's hard. But the camp has been alerted when the U.S. forces moved last turn, so it becomes alerted. then in the next movement phase, I can pick one circle that has been alerted. And I'm going to go ahead and pick the Hunk Papa one because it's the biggest circle, because you can only pick one circle. Those forces can move right away. The rest of the forces are not allowed to move till my next turn. And we did have some exciting stuff with trying to, his scouts came in and tried to capture the pony herds, and he felled one and it scattered way over here, and then another scout grabbed it. So he ended up grabbing, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4. He grabbed 4 pony herds that he has, his scouts have right now. So that's pretty good. Here we are. I decided to keep moving out in this direction, and I went after Reno here, and he was able to retreat. He's mounted still and I'm dismounted. He was able to retreat before the melee, and he got out of there, and my firing on his opportunity fire on his melee retreat did nothing.
So Custer's right here. He's prone. He's by far my most powerful unit, and he knows that. So that's why he's kind of avoiding it. But so I do want to use him and get him fighting, but well, he's also in a very good position he's holding right now. So
all right, we had some. He backed up here. He was afraid of Gaul. I did think I put a wound on the zone of control leaving. He moved a couple of the pony herds off the board, so he got a couple points for that. And he's just keeping me surrounded here. He did move Custer here, and I'm just letting these camps go. I can't do anything about them because, I mean, the camp breakdown still has 5 to go. I'm just trying to get the villagers out of there. Yeah, so the villagers to me are more important, obviously, and you don't want them to get captured. And I thought, let's forget waiting for this camp breakdown. He's got in so close. I can't sit there 5 turns and try to defend him. I didn't want to take on Custer's command and Yates's command and whoever else he could bring around there. And for that matter, what he does is he keeps his commands at 10 strength points or less. That way I don't get any modifiers to my side. I always try to keep mine 5 or less. So he's a -1 because, remember, his shooting is just better than mine. Well, we had our first leader casualty in the whole game so far. I just lost Big Road. So that's a hit. He abandoned his horses. So, you know, in the game, you can abandon your horses and give strength points back to units that lost them, or you just turn them over and they're 1 unit soldiers. Now, I ain't gonna lie, the pony holders and the horse holders took us a little while to get those rules down, but once you get them down, you're pretty good. I mean, the soldiers are always gonna try to dismount every time they come close to the warriors because you can't shoot long range while you're mounted. So you always dismount, and then you always have the horse holders there, and for the most part, he keeps the horse holders around unless he starts getting into a melee or start getting a little overrun. Then he'll abandon those horses and either leave his horse holder on his own because he can shoot. Now he acts like any other unit. According to the 1.4 rules, he acts like any other unit now. While he's holding horses, he can't do much. And then I always try to attack him by melee because we'll force them to abandon the horses. And then once the horses become abandoned, there's a table you can roll on and to see if I get points for capturing those horses, and it's all done just ambiguously, you know. And you know, I didn't turn out that much where I got the points for them, but still, I like to get rid of those as much as I can because it keeps them from maneuvering a lot. And then same with him, as you saw, he already went after the pony herds. And a lot of times I rush him, dismount to melee and stuff, but at times I found when I would get routed by an adverse melee, my pony herds would then scatter, and then they can become abandoned, or I have to go gather them again. So I start kind of dismounting before the hex that I actually wanted to reach and kind of leave the pony herd
pony holders behind me 1 hex, and then why I went and fought. But I made sure he couldn't get around and get him. So little tactics there with those.
I was saying, Custer and Yates are right here, and they're some of my strongest forces. And they're not doing anything right here. They're holding good positions, but they're not actually getting to fight and put on pressure. And he's deliberately avoiding them, of course, and attacking my weaker stuff. But I need to start using them not just as a block, but more as a way to apply pressure to him.
Okay, so I was just helping my son because he's thinking about it. And what I'm telling him is, you see these units right here. And then I have Crazy Horse with mounted warriors. And I don't want to come in and attack him in the woods and behind this creek. He gets defense bonuses. It's like, it's kind of dumb to do that. Now, I did it over here because I outnumbered him, and when I opportunity fired at him or defensive fired at him, I weakened him. So I was like, yeah, let's go at it. And you can see I'm getting hurt, and these guys are weaker. He's stronger over here. It's like, I'm not going to go attack him in these spots. It's like, he's in defensive positions.
And another thing I learned is melee, again, is advantage to the warriors. However, if you're getting negative modifiers on your table, it's really going to hurt you, and it doesn't turn out good. And you can, I would only have a few bad routes going on with my army, and then you got to stop it for a while and regroup and get your units refreshed. So you got to watch that. So I started only making sure when I meleeed, I was getting modifiers that were pluses. So this is what we were talking about as Custer staying out of the fighting and protecting himself. You can see in this second game, we're kind of being a little more timid with each other. We're not just rushing our soldiers in willy-nilly, but I just let him know I ain't going after him. He's going to have to come out in the open. And the problem with that is the opponent gets a defensive fire. So your offensive fire goes, then your movement, and then it's defensive fire. And the defensive fire could just tear them apart. So as a warrior, I always try to make sure I have my Henry rifle Indians all around the board, all in most important spots and in each group, as long with my leaders. You got to have the leaders there. It really helps the rallying. Make sure you have leaders covering all the important spots, and then you can break up an attack. Now, the soldiers didn't have to worry about that too much as far as the firing went, because they're just great on firing. So I would always take a beating when I went after them, trying to line up for a melee.
Okay, so this is it's the 12th turn. It is 10:40 a.m. still. And I'm trying to surround F there, which is Benteen, but man, he just keeps shooting at me and just keeps me pinned. I can't ever conduct a melee. Over here I'm more successful, even though I got routed units. I routed some got routed there, and I voluntarily routed too here. I don't use that a lot. I don't find it very handy, because if I'm trying to surround somebody and engage them, and then he starts shooting at me, I know he's going to start shooting. Why would I voluntarily route and just start backing up? It's like I'm going to take the hits. I want to surround him. But anyways, this is my force, and we have backed Terry out of this wooded area from this spot back. So he keeps running back, and I'm not going to chase him anymore. So I just pulled back. It's like, I'm pulling back. I'm not going to keep fighting him in these defensive positions. Now, here you can see I lit fires here just in case, because he's trying to group his men right here, and if he decides to come at me, I got fires protecting me and backed up by some good troops here. So what I decided to do is this over here. I keep hurting him. He keeps hurting me. We're going round and around. These two units are still pinned, obviously, but what I decided to do is take a 1-to-2 melee with this guy on him. It's a 1-to-2. I got a 50-50 chance of hurting him, and it's going to be difficult for him to retreat if I force a retreat, because I got him surrounded and zone of control. So let's see what happens, because if he has to retreat into a Zoc, everybody shoots.
It might just be this guy. I don't know.
Right.
It might be. I don't know.
It's into the Zoc,
Okay.
so it's just this guy, and the pins can't shoot. But still, I'm going to go for my chance. I get a +1 in this battle. I'm not using these two because he gets too many modifiers. I'm attacking across rivers, creeks, up hills. Where this guy, I've managed to get him on the same elevation. There's no modifiers except a +1 to me because he's disrupted. I got a guy disrupted in there. Here we go. Ooh, wow. It's the maximum roll on a 1 to 2. We just got a casualty 1 and a retreat 1. Nice job. All right. Boy, we are just battling away here. He brought Varnum, Custer. He's coming around to help Benteen because I've been pushing him up this hill. And then he brought Keo back this way, which you can barely see at the bottom of the screen. So I'm just kind of watching as I'm getting all my villages are allowed to move now. The camps are broke down and they're just moving. So in the meantime, I'm just trying to do the most damage I can. I have this force pretty hurt, and that's why Custer's coming. So I'm going to try one last melee on him, and I'm going to use the 5 to 1 table, but I do have to -1 off my dice. Here we go. Ooh, what a roll. 5, Liam. It's 2 casualties and route. Nope, that's a route retreat. We did it like another hour and a half of game turn here. And I'm starting to get this, so he's shifting his stuff because he's going to try to block me. So he's staying way away and he's coming around. So this group here, I'm going to try to follow Custer over here. And then I'm trying to keep up a nice defensive position by the river. And I was really thinking about engaging Benteen again, or Terry here again.
Terry in Brisbane.
In Brisbane, but it's a tough position. I mean, we fought for, what, 2 hours we fought over when he was over here, and it took that long just to get him hurt a little bit and get him backing up. It's like it takes too long. Now with Custer coming, I decided to hold off. You got any thoughts right now on the game?
I mean, I'm definitely going for the villagers, and I'm definitely... he's doing everything he can to block me. And I'm not saying I'll be able to go in and start hitting them, but I think I'll definitely stop their progress because I'm going to just do everything I can to stop them from going this way. He's really cautious of Custer over here. He's trying to flank me, and he's doing a good job. He's using the river and blocking me, but we'll see.
So me and my son are really enjoying this game, and it really has the tactical level put into this game. I mean, you got to use everything too. You always have to mount when you want to move fast, dismount when you're ready to fight. You go into prone when you don't really want to melee, but you want to lay down that fire, that attritional fire. Because when you're in a prone position, you get modifiers when he's trying to shoot at you. So, but you got to watch it because, like I said, it doesn't help you on the melee. And then remember to always keep your leaders there. Now, of course, the soldiers have leaders in every unit just about, but the warriors don't. And the soldiers are better at gunfire. They really lay down fire way better than the Indians do. So it's a chance you got to take. So you got to pick and choose where you're going to melee. And you got to know that you're going to lose some probably quality units. He's going to force them to retreat, and then they're out of the melee. But so you got to go in with a good advantage. And I'm sure the Indians did the same thing. They just weren't willy-nilly. They only took advantage of the spots where they thought they can overpower the soldiers. So when the warriors thought they could do that, they would do that. And then if the soldiers did force some to retreat, they would still have a decent melee. I mean, I'll melee 1-to-1 on the warrior table because it's a 50-50 shot if something happens. So sometimes I take those chances. And then whenever my son tried to cavalry charge me, he'd tried it a few times because you got to have certain rolls. You got to have clear terrain. And I'm allowed to scatter. In the 1.4 rules, you're allowed to scatter when he comes within 2 movement points, and I can help prevent that charge. Now, if he still has charge points available, he can keep advancing toward that unit that retreated and still get a charge on him. But I always try to set up my units where I have elevation differences, I got creeks, or I leave 1 or 2 units blocking to screen just so he can't pick on some strong units that you have defending your villagers. So scatter comes in very handy, especially against cavalry charges.
So I managed to sneak in and snatch two of these guys. I was pretty surprised how much he was rushing them over, but it was bothering me too because when he first started doing this shift, I was all over here and I managed to get around pretty quick, and he left this spot open, so I managed to get two of his villagers.
Yeah, I was just kind of, he's leaving me this route, and I guess it was like, almost like, a horse sees water, or you see water when you're dying of thirst. You're just like, I'm going for it, and I just kept going for it. He captured two villagers. That's a lot of points for him. So, well, what craziness we got! You see all those routed units? Twice now, I've half mooned B and C force here, and twice I've rolled ones and been routed. Crazy. But we did have some interesting things happen.
So he killed Custer.
Well,
We both got really unlucky this round because he attacked me twice in melee. He could have rolled anything other than a 1 both times and he would have been fine. But he managed to roll a 1 both times and got all his guys routed. For me, I rolled really bad because Custer and Reno both died. They got shot at.
they both got shot and wounded, mortally wounded.
Not even mortally wounded, they just died.
Yeah, they were
I
killed.
rolled Snake Eyes and 12. So
Yeah.
we both took pretty crazy losses that round. But he definitely is probably got the better side of this round because he got 20 points from Custer.
Yeah.
Even though he got routed a bunch.
And he did wound Crazy Horse. So in this also, Crazy Horse is wounded. And he's under this routed marker. But so even that's crazy. So we've just been battling it right here while I'm trying to get my villagers off. Now next turn, the infantry comes in.
Now, fighting over in this one section, you have so many units that are tight together here. You really got to watch the stacking with the villagers, the camps. You can only have 2 combat units on the villagers, and you got to watch the ponies. When you retreat, if you got to retreat through your units, you can't stop on a unit that's stacked. You have to keep going, and you get penalized. It's really tough when you're fighting in a cramped spot like this. Man, we've done 3/4 of the game. We're still going. Now, I was under the impression that his infantry and the Gatling guns came on up here, and I thought, man, I got time to still move that. But unfortunately, they came on right here, and I wasn't quite aware. That's it? How you feel about the game?
But what do you mean by that?
I don't know. Do you feel like it's still anybody's game? I'm thinking so.
I think so.
You know what I mean? Like, that's great when you have a game where we're coming down to the nitty gritty, and it's such a slow grind with the step loss and step loss and step loss. Just like it was, it's just not huge amounts of men being lost. So it's still anybody's game. Yeah, it's getting a little crazy here. Look at the breastworks he's built around there. And then I'm staying away because the breastworks seem a little crazy. I can't seem to get Gall and his group unrouted. Here he's firing at me with all the infantry and the Gatling guns here. And he's constantly backing me up. And if I can't find a place to retreat, then I keep retreating because I can only have 2 combat units in a hex where I have the village and the villager and the village. So, and then I had to keep retreating, and then I have to disrupt one friendly unit when I do it. So it's really becoming a really quagmire right here. So we're going to see what happens. Well, the game ended, and I had 84 points to his 74, which ends up to be a draw. So we ended in a draw, but man, what a intense game, really. And the casualties come very slow. The casualty point system is very slow, and so your units aren't dropping like flies like you would think in a modern war. It's very slow. But we really got into this game. I do recommend it. We're actually going to do another scenario like the Montana with a little twist, because it's always been my understanding with the
the books I've read, that Terry was delayed. Also, his scout took him on a wrong path. They got lost, and that's why it took him a couple days to get to the battlefield, or at least one of the problems. So if you use this Montana idea and the village, let's say, didn't move where they have it starting in the Montana scenario, but you just leave it in the original, the first scenario, and you play that Custer can do whatever he wants, but use Custer as a more of a roundup force and not try to go in there and do everything himself. And we moved Terry up to entering the board one day early. So everything's moving in, and not on the 27th, but on the 26th. And so the village will be able to either walk off on the north side or the south side. We're going to pick a turn that they can start doing that. And I don't know, we'll see what that is when the whole force is fighting and the village can move either way. So, but we love it.